Welcome to Beyond the Velvet Rope with Neil Oates Jr., the podcast that takes you on an extraordinary journey into the world of luxury service. Join us as we unlock the secrets, stories, and strategies behind exceptional experiences. From anticipating VIP needs to crafting unforgettable memories, we'll guide you on a path to service excellence in the realm of the affluent. Let's elevate your expertise and redefine the art of world-renowned service. Here's your host, Neil Oates Jr.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Beyond the Velvet Rope. Today's guest is on a mission to disrupt Wall Street and empower Main Street, helping everyday investors take back control of their financial future. Jaden Sterling is the visionary founder and CEO of Sterling Stock Picker, an award-winning platform that's flipping the script on traditional investing. With a background that includes time at major financial institutions like Merrill Lynch and Citigroup, Jaden took everything he learned and did something radically different. He built a software platform that prioritizes transparency, education, and real results for regular people, not just the financial elite. Under Jaden's leadership, Sterling Stock Picker has become a powerhouse of data-driven stock analysis featuring AI-powered recommendations, real-time performance tracking, and a curated list of over 60,000 companies. And get this, is currently outperforming sector averages by an incredible 150%. But Jaden's story doesn't start with Wall Street. It starts with a 14-year-old boy inspired by a speaker to teach others about money. That calling has never left him. Today, he's helped thousands of investors worldwide learn how to align their money with purpose, power, and confidence. If you're ready to rethink what's possible in your financial future and hear from someone who's truly bridging the gap between intuition and industry insight, then this episode is one you don't want to miss. Welcome Beyond the Velvet Rope, Mr. Jaden Sterling.
Neil, thank you for a wonderful introduction. I appreciate that.
My pleasure, sir. So don't worry, I'll send you the invoice of where you can pay for all the work that I did there. So Jaden, I shared a lot there, but would you share with the audience maybe something that wasn't in the introduction? Who is Jaden Sterling, sir?
Well, I'm a man on a mission, and my mission was, I guess, downloaded to me. For lack of better word, if you've ever had a time where you've experienced like an epiphany, time stands still, and you just know something very clearly. That's what happened to me at 14. I was in my mother's townhome and I came down the stairs and no one was around, but yet there was a big boombox. I know I'm dating myself here, but there was a big boombox on her dining room table with a cassette. I remember those things where you had to put the pencil in and rewind. So cassette playing, and it was Wayne Dyer speaking. And right then, I found myself transfixed, standing in front of this boombox, listening to the message. And while I was listening, I got this very clear understanding of my purpose. And I was told three things, Neil. I was told I'd be speaking on stages around the world on money, specifically how to empower people with money, not be enslaved by it. And lastly, I would be teaching from personal experience, not from a course I took or a book that I read. So can you imagine at 14, like everything is, your whole life purpose is downloaded to you. So I followed it. I went to school at American University in Washington, D.C., studied finance. After that went to work on Wall Street, worked for two major brokerage firms, Merrill Lynch and Citigroup, and basically retired from the business at age 30 and got into doing what I'm doing today, which is mentoring and teaching. So that's the why I do what I do. It was clearly downloaded to me, and it's my purpose, and I take that to heart.
Okay, so you just mentioned something that you had I'm going to say the blessing and the opportunity, we're going to say good fortune, not luck, to know what your purpose was at an early age of 14. But that doesn't mean that because you knew what it was early on, that it was easy on this journey. Could you just share, you knowing at 14, let me ask, were your family and friends, did they understand that this was the thing for you? And what was that like being a kid explaining to people, hey, I know what I want to do with my life. And they're like, no, 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 Jaden, give yourself time to figure that out. What was it like early on for you?
Great question. Thanks for asking that. No one's ever asked me that. And, I think the difference early on, I kept that to myself. I never told anyone. I kept it close to my heart. I kept it and I got to really think about it. I got to sit with it and I noticed, it was an absolute right alignment with me. So I didn't question it. And then when I finally told people, it wasn't until my mid 20s that I started talking about that experience. I was on my path. There was no, and already quite successfully on my path. So there was no pushback. There was no questioning. There was nothing. I don't think I've ever had a family member or friend ever ask me about, are you sure you're on the right path? Just never, it hasn't happened.
Okay, so you didn't get the pushback from family and friends. What was the experience like for you? Were there ever any moments, not that you doubted, but that you had to persevere? Because when we're talking about going on into Wall Street and going into the financial sector and the responsibility and the education, was there ever a moment for Mr. Jaden Sterling when he was like, oh man, this is hard?
There was a moment where a huge eye opener for me, that was a very big pill to swallow, very difficult pill to swallow. And that was, I was getting mixed messages. Here I am working in a brokerage firm on Wall Street, and the brokerage firm is telling me to do certain things, which is, when a client brings in their portfolio, sell their individual stocks and buy them packaged products. My clients would come in with great companies, some of the best in the world, John Deere, IBM, these big, big corporations that were crushing it and giving them amazing returns. So, here I am one day waking up to the very realization that had they just held their individual stocks, not sold them, they would have outperformed the markets by at least 35% over a 2-year period. And that's meaningful. And so as soon as I recognized that, I actually got out of the business because I could no longer do what the brokerage firm wanted me to do. Brokerage firms, like you say, I'm turning Wall Street on its head because the message has to get out there. Everyone has a mutual fund because they pay the highest fees to the broker who sold them that fund. And internally, there are fees that are astronomical that the portfolio managers are making, therefore the brokerage firms are making. They don't earn any money by a client buying a big company shares of a stock and holding on to it. They haven't figured out how to do that yet. That was my big epiphany there with the industry, that it's flawed and the industry is built to make money off of clients, not for clients. Now, brokers are great people. Nothing wrong with brokers. I
Right.
like them. I'm still friends with brokers, but they're in an industry that is constructed in a way to not make people wealthy. And when I recognized that, like I mentioned, got out of the business, and that's why I built the platform that we have today, is to help people make meaningful money, not just little dribs and drabs on their mutual funds.
Okay, so let me ask you this, Jaden. That was the moment, the epiphany. You said there has to be a better way. So how long was it between you seeing this and you saying, hey, I have to get out, until you start this journey that you're on now?
Great question. There was a period of time I got out of the industry in 2000, early 2000, and after that I felt compelled. So I had a great experience with investing personally. I bought one stock during the decade of the 90s, turned $70,000 into $900,000. It tripled during the decade. I had no idea it was going to do that. But the power of focus was astronomical, life-changing. So at that point, I'm 30 years old, I have no responsibilities, and I've got almost $1 million in the bank, in my IRA. And I'm like, well, I can get out of the business. So that helped me make the leap out of corporate into doing my own thing. And even though I was a millionaire, even though I achieved that goal, I still didn't feel like I was playing in a big enough realm with money in order to teach it at some point. So I created an investment firm and I bought apartment buildings in 25 units, created a $12.5 million company. And offered affordable housing to folks in Fort St. Petersburg, Florida. I know where you're
Yep.
located. So on the other coast. And it was phenomenal. It was phenomenal. Like, grew the business in 7 years, had 15 employees, really making a meaningful impact for people because rents were starting to get out of control
Right.
downtown St. Pete. And I was like, I want to change this. I know I can do it. And so, I mean, today that valuation would be in excess of 100 million. But we're talking, early 2000s where values were a
Now,
little more.
hold on, Jaden. Do you realize that that's 20 plus years ago, right? Hey,
I
how time
know
flies, right?
how time flies and how crazy valuations are in the marketplace in real estate, just out of control. I had to play with the big boys in order to
Hmm.
be teaching what I'm teaching today. That's what I realized. And in 2008, I realized big thing in my life happened. My twin brother was diagnosed with cancer, stage 4. He had 2 years to live. And during that time, he and I had some really deep talks, and especially around, like, he would say to me things like, bro, man, I just feel like I never lived my purpose. And I said to him, well, I know my purpose and I don't feel like I'm living it either. I was in an office running a business at the time, but I wasn't really making a meaningful impact for people with money, teaching, or mentoring. Wasn't doing any of that because I was too busy. So I said to him, you know what, for you and me, both of us, I promise I'm going to step into my purpose full time.
Oh,
So he passed in 9, and in 2009 is when I stepped into doing what I'm doing today, which is mentoring and teaching people how to have meaningful abundance beyond the velvet rope. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. So Jaden, I want to ask you this, and you don't have to answer, but if circumstances were different, and I know if is the language of poor, of the poor, according to Jim Rohn, but
Mhm.
do we get this version of Jaden Sterling if you don't have those deep conversations with your brother?
Yeah. So I was starting to teach, but it was in real estate. It wasn't in what I'm doing now, which is in stocks, because I feel like stocks were much more accessible for people. Real estate, you need quite a bit of knowledge and or
Yeah.
money. If you don't have the money, you need money partners to help you invest. And with stocks, that's not the case. I mean, you can buy a fractional share for $10 to start getting in that game. And I always used my stock portfolio as the cornerstone of my real estate portfolio. I would do deals like where I put my IRA up as collateral with a bank rather than
Hmm.
cash. And I would get a construction loan out on, let's say, an 8-unit building, fix up the property, and have it reappraised, and then get my IRA back. So that was a no money down deal. So I'd be creative with my stocks, but I could never have done what I did in real estate without having stocks as my cornerstone.
Right. So I want to move to a little bit of the platform and the philosophy that you have
Sure.
because it has been, I guess the philosophy has played a huge part in the launch of the platform and your
Yep.
mission. Now, you have said you don't need to be an expert to invest like one. So, one, that's encouraging because myself and my audience, right, we're like, oh my gosh, we want to get in the game, but we don't know where to start. But maybe we could start here. What do most people get wrong about investing?
Most people get wrong, and it's not because of their own fault. It's because it's what they've always heard, and they've always been told to diversify. That is, when you diversify, you limit your ability to succeed. So the key is to focus, like double down. I've always said you only need 6. Learning from my multi-millionaire clients back in 1990, that was a lot of money back then. Today it's not. But back then,
Hey, hold on, Jada. It's like I love perspective. You're like, that's not a lot of money now. Unless you don't have that, then my audience, they're sitting here like, man, we really need to know this guy, Jaden, so I can ask him for not a lot of money.
yeah, not a lot of money. And you're right, it's perspective, but in reality, like, money was worth way more back then than it is today.
Right.
And they achieved that because they had 6, 7, 8 stocks in their portfolio. They didn't have. Eventually, they had a bunch of mutual funds and managed money because we were told to sell them that. But the reality is, they built their wealth one stock at a time. And that is all you have to do. Like that is the key to getting started, is to, not be so afraid. If you think about, if you think about the industry, everything is spoken in acronyms, and which makes it confusing for people. And when a confused mind can't move forward. So then they are dependent on a banker or a broker, right? They're
Right.
like, I don't know what to do, take my money, invest it, and they hope that someday maybe they'll have something meaningful. But the reality is, a broker just makes you broker. I hate to say it, but it's true. It's like they're going to make sure they get their commissions. They're going to make sure the brokerage firm gets their fees. But the last thing, frankly, that they're really concerned about is making someone wealthy. If they wanted true wealth for their clients, they would have them invest in individual stocks and nothing else.
Got you. So you've mentioned a word no less than 3 or 4 times already, and that's focus, right? And so you mentioned that for yourself when you were turning your 70,000 multiple 6 figures. So how does Sterling Stock Picker help someone neophyte, a newbie, not an expert? How does the Sterling Stock Picker help someone with focus in terms of the investing game?
Opportunities for people. One is they identify their risk level, and 2, they identify their core values. And we've curated our entire database.
Now let me interrupt you there.
Yeah.
You're talking about core values when it comes to investing, right? That's not
Right?
that's not typical
No.
financial. Like we don't care
No.
about your core values. We're like, okay, what's your risk, right? But then other than that, come on.
It's so atypical. We are so atypical, let me tell you, and we're so thrilled about that. We did everything we could to be atypical in the industry. I mean, think about it. Look, if you have a core value of health and well-being, you don't want to be buying shares of Coca-Cola or McDonald's, or you know what I'm saying? Like you want to be in alignment with companies that are going to support.
You really are in the Sterling Stock Picker. You all really are about alignment 360 degrees. It's not, hey, we know you say this, but if you do this and put your money over here, it could be a bigger return. And that would cause some of that disalignment internally.
That's right.
You all have thought about that. And this is not just about finances. This is about that mission that you're on, Jaden.
Let me share with you. It took me a month to match every stock and every industry with a core value. 1 month of my life I spent doing this. And I tell you, we're the only platform that does it. That's why we are so passionate about what we do, because energetically, if you own companies that are in alignment with your core values, you can get behind it. I mean, he talked about Jim Rohn, like his philosophy and belief system. Alignment is key. When you're in alignment with everything you're doing, like your purpose, your passion, your mission, your wealth is a byproduct of alignment.
So right here, because that was something I was going to ask you about, talking about the alignment, and you're big, and your entire philosophy, even, and I know this is a big part of the Sterling Stock Picker, a big part is alignment, values, money. So now it's not about the money, it's what you can do and who you become as a person that's chasing after this thing. So let me ask you this. What does, or how does a person get started, right? Before, like if they're new to this game and they're listening to this episode now and they're saying, man, I like this guy, Jaden. I'm interested in this Sterling Stock Picker, him talking about values. What's the first thing that someone should understand before buying a single stock, if you wouldn't mind sharing that?
The first thing to understand is to do your best to really embrace risk.
Go deeper on that, sir. But because right now, we as human beings, we are risk averse, right? We're like, man, this guy's telling me to do the one thing that I don't want to do. So could you go a little bit deeper in that, sir?
I know, and the entire investing markets are designed to make people so afraid of taking a risk. And that's the only way you're going to get good things in life. Like you risk, asking a person out on a date, right? That's taking a risk. You risk your life crossing the street every day. That's taking a risk. Like we all take risks, but yet with our money, why would we shy away from it? Why would we back away from that? And now when I say risk, I mean calculated risk. I mean risk where, quite frankly, the the part of the equation where there's a potential loss is taken off the table. And that's what our software does. So we analyze stocks, we do all the number crunching, we do all the behind the scenes of looking at the fundamentals of a company. I mean, we're even looking at, are the insiders buying their stock or are they selling their stock? Like all of these metrics come into play when we analyze and evaluate a company, and then we give it a North Star, what we call a North Star ranking. So that ranking is going to show a new investor, any investor, whether to buy a stock, hold a stock, or sell a stock. I mean, there's only 3 conditions when it comes to investing, right? Buy, sell, hold. We tell them through emails and texts, okay, it's time to buy the stock or it's time to sell it. Very simple. So yeah, I think people have to reevaluate their relationship with risk. They have to become more comfortable because that is the only place where they're going to experience rewards in life is by taking some type of risk. Look, we all know having a job is like kind of playing it safe, but job stands for just over broke.
Yeah. And ladies and gentlemen, I do want to remind you that you're hearing from someone not who sat in a class, not who has taken a 3-day seminar or a course, but who has actively done this and lived this out and gotten the education, the training, but also the real world experience. And then he has demonstrated it for himself and thousands of clients. We talk about being risk averse and accepting levels of risk or identifying levels of risk. But then also, I know you talk about sometimes it's just the overwhelm, right? We as investors or human beings, we're just overwhelmed with opportunities or knowing what to do. And it sounds like your platform, the Sterling Stock Picker, has reduced the overwhelm that's keeping, we're going to say, investors from investing confidently. Is that correct?
Yeah, if you ever bowled and you're at the bowling alley and you see these rails that come up on the side to help you stay in the lane, right? To help you have some level of success in that sport. That's what we do with stocks. We've got the rails up for you, so you can't go in the gutter, you can't go off the rail. Like, we make it so simple. And I jokingly laugh, but we spent 8 years creating this software. We're not like a fly-by-night, oh yeah, we just put this thing together last week. 3 years of beta testing it. Like, we made sure that this thing was going to work, that it was going to give the results that we wanted for folks. So we're in it for the long haul. And part of what we've created is what we call Portfolio Assistant. So it's part of our software where, where what's the saying, rubber meets the road, like the real impactful kind of thing, where, client puts in how much cash they've got available, and it creates the entire portfolio for them based on their risk level and their personal values. So you can't go wrong. We're showing you 5-star stocks. Those are our highest coveted buy rating companies.
Okay, so right there, you're talking about this app, the software, me as an investor going in. And so I'm going to assume there's some type of AI involved in this process. And then I'm sitting here and I'm like, well, do I trust AI or do I trust the broker? I'm afraid of it. What if there's a glitch or what if I break it? Could you just talk about, because you mentioned that 3 years of beta testing, right? And having, I know you all have systems and features built into your software. Mm-hmm. Could you explain to us why and how that the AI components and everything from the North Star rating, how it really is creating those rails so we don't go into the gutter? Because that's our fear. Like, we'll roll the ball, but man, we're just so afraid of those huge gutters in our minds and losing everything. So how is the tech and AI and the different rating systems that you all have in place, how is that benefiting the investor?
It's a great question. And our AI is throughout the platform. We've invested heavily into that feature because it's so good. And so we honed it to recognize recommendations, again, based on someone's risk tolerance. So if someone comes in the platform and they're like, after they have to answer a questionnaire to determine their level of risk, right? Once they get there, and if it says, if they're like low risk, or no risk, if they're like risk adverse, it's not going to show them, accelerated stocks. It's not going to show them extensive, like high risk, high fluting growth companies. It's going to show them dividend paying stocks that are for the base of their portfolio. And we teach people through the platform. Like we've got hundreds of training videos in there that if someone wanted to spend the time, they could actually go through. Like I've been recording these for 8 years now, to learn all about investing. So that's one rail that we keep up for people. The other one is that we're only going to show them stocks associated with their ability to take certain risk. And lastly, I'm in the platform on a daily basis through our stock forum. So if someone has a question about, hey, I'm looking at this company, what do you think? I go analyze it, I look at it, and I give feedback. Like I feel like I am in the next sticking out business, like I've done this for 37 years. It sounds crazy, but I just had my
sound crazy, sir.
Man, crazy, right? I just had a big birthday. So 37 years I've been doing this, and my mission is to make people millionaires, like give them real wealth that it can actually affect their life. I mean, now more than ever, I keep hearing of people really struggling with high inflation and high housing costs. And the only thing that cures that is more money. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And so I do want to remind you all that money isn't the most important thing, but it is a necessity. It's a necessary thing, especially if we want to live the good life, if we really want to go beyond the velvet rope and have those experiences. So you're talking about this software platform, the Sterling Stock Picker, but it is not just barely making it. And your clients, they aren't just scraping by. The software is outperforming sector averages by 150%. So how are the users able to do this? Is it, them being open to some risk, just following instruction? I also know that the software itself isn't doing all the work, but as individuals, investors come in, you mentioned they have opportunity to be educated, right there in the platform. So could you talk about that a little bit to us?
Yeah, so those numbers are probably 6 months ago numbers. We're tracking in on like 52% right now. So that was an extraordinary. So I need to change those numbers. But still, regardless, we're tracking at 52% higher than the averages, and that's for our 5-star stocks. So our stocks that are the highest ranking. So the software people can actually rely on the software. If they were only to buy 5-star stocks, they're going to have an amazing return in their portfolio. Because what goes into that, I haven't really talked about it, is we analyze the fundamentals of a company. We analyze the financials of a company. We also analyze the financial health of a company. And lastly, the technical indicators. And what I've learned over 37 years is the trend is your friend. If a stock is trending up and it's got support from its moving averages, then there's a good chance that that stock, as long as everything else ticks the box, right? Good, healthy fundamentals, healthy financials, then it literally takes the risk out of investing, because part of the financial health we're looking at, we dig into what's called the breakup value of a company. Like if everything goes south and that stock has to be sold off in pieces at auction, a fire sale, what would it be worth? And we're buying shares of the company less than its breakup value. So that's how powerful the software is in these 5-star recommendations. Like, I don't think we've pretty much at this point thought of everything that needs to go into it. Like sometimes I get this, rogue metric that I find out about later on. I'm like, oh, I need to look into that. But for now, at this juncture at 8 years, I think we've nailed the process. If you and I were having this conversation 5 or 6 years ago, we'd be having a very different conversation. You know what I mean? But at this point, I think people can rely on the platform. I know they can. It's one of the most reliable stock picking platforms out there.
Okay, so now they're saying, yes, Jaden, you've sold us on the idea, right? We're going to get this, but I don't have $70,000 to start with, right? As a matter of fact, I don't have 10,000. How can I get into the game? How much do I need to get into the game with the Sterling Stock Picker?
Kind of like how you do in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, right? You can buy a fraction of that currency. So very similar, and all the big broker, Robinhood, Charles Schwab, all those allow you to buy fractional shares. So interesting, when I was in the business, I had a client, I'll tell you a quick story, Dr. and Mrs. Arnold, and they were PhDs, really sweethearts, and they were in their 80s. And they came into the firm, and they told me a story about a friend of theirs. Her name was Anne, and Anne was an executive assistant to an attorney. And she could only afford to put away $5 a week, right? $5. Well, over the course of a year, that added up to what, approximately 50 weeks, like $250 or so she'd be putting away. And is my math right? I don't know. It's early in the morning. I think I'm kind of close to there. So in that time period, she did this for 40 years, and she only bought 4 stocks. It was like Procter and Gamble, John Deere, these big companies. She retired with $1.2 million in that portfolio. Now, she never took any money out during those 40 years. She reinvested all the dividends. But that's all she had to work with. So what did she do? She took what she had to work with. Just start where you are, right? We often hear that phrase and we're like, what does that mean? Well, it means like if you got an extra $5 or $10 a week, put that aside, like maybe skip a trip to McDonald's or, whatever, right? Just look at your life and go, all right, what can I cut out and redistribute to over here for investment that can actually make me money instead of cost me? So that's step one, like really just kind of carve out what you can. I mean, there's so many ways to do that, right?
So I want to follow that question and response with this one. What would you say to the person who's listening right now who feels like they're behind in their financial journey, who maybe they don't have 40 years left and they're saying, well, Jaden, I wish I would have met you 25 years ago. What do you say to that individual?
Yeah, it's kind of like when people ask you, when's the best time to plant a tree, right? Money investing is the same. It's like, yeah, 25 years ago would have been great, but we're not there. We have today. So we take what we can, start with what you've got today and make that meaningful step. Like our platform has a 30-day free trial. Like they can jump on, learn a whole bunch. They don't even have to stay after 30 days if they don't want, but start that process, right? Start getting educated about investing.
Hey, hold on, Jaden. See, look, now you speaking Alabamese, brother. Now you speaking my language, educated. Let's go, baby. So you talk about that piece. So would you tell them right here in the middle of the show, where can they go if they're already in? Like, okay, Jaden, stop talking. Tell me where we can go to at least investigate the Sterling Stock Picker. Where can the audience go?
Sure. SterlingStockPicker.com. Sterling like sterling silver. Sterling Stock Picker.
So one thing I love about Jaden, he is a man after my own heart because he keeps it super simple, ladies and gentlemen. He's
simple.
A practical guy. And so you have really broken down this idea of making money and making money through investing, something that is feasible and tangible for the everyday person. But you do something different. You teach people how to create passive income through investing. What's the difference in that and just buying stock and hoping, right? So you're teaching them how to, many of us to say, I'm just going to buy this and just hope. What's that difference there, Jaden?
Yeah, so step one is buying, first of all, like being able to buy enough shares of a company to have 100 shares. This is key. Once you have 100 shares of stock and they have what's called options available on them, we sell options against our holdings. So that's how you create passive income on your stock portfolio. And I teach all of that through our platforms and stuff. So it's really a step 2 and 3 that comes. But the first step is putting money to work, getting at least 100 shares of a particular company, and then you would be selling what's called an option contract on that.
And so this is only possible through that word that you love, and that's called focus. So we're going to have to focus on a couple of companies, maybe just one company after looking at all the information, and we're just going to do whatever it takes and stay focused on that and not diversify. Is that correct?
100% correct. And with that kind of strategy, you can expect about a 1 to 2% return each week. So if you annualize that, you're looking at a 50 to 100% return just from the option contracts. So it's a very powerful financial tool that a lot of people shy away from, but we do it in the most conservative way. Rather, we take the risk off the table. There's nothing risky about selling an option contract on a stock.
So let me ask you this, Jaden, because you're sharing these, I'm going to say secrets, right? But why is it that this is not the normal talk in the industry if they are serious about helping their clients?
There's, in the industry now, it's gone to zero commission, or very low commission. Back in the day, when I was a broker in the 90s, our commission rate was like 4% for a stock. So it was meaningful to sell people individual stocks. But today, this commission structure has changed, and the commission is still high for mutual funds and other packaged products. That is exactly why the industry shies away from individual stocks and option contracts. There's no money in it for them.
So there's none in it for them, but done right, there will be money for the investor. And so what you're saying is your mission is to help people create income, create finances through doing this the right way. Is that correct? How's that? So as a Dr. Phil would always say, how's that working out for you, Jaden?
Beautifully. Like, life is great, man. I mean, like, I have my struggles, right? Like, I've got kids, marriage.
Hey, hold on, stop. I love the fact that you're like, I've got my struggles, kids. So I'm right there. And so I think you went kids, marriage, pets, right? So here's what we're going to do. Maybe we should have put the pets first. I'm not telling you what to do, but if the family listens to this, so what he meant to say was pets, kids, and sometimes, listen, brother, I'm a dog dad, I'm a dad, and I'm a husband. So I'm right there with you, sir. It takes a community of men to raise each other and to keep us from sleeping on couches, man.
It does. Thank you for that. I appreciate that.
So Jaden, I do want to ask you something because I see that you are a knowledgeable person, that you know this thing, and you talk about 37 years doing this thing. But you've combined traditional financial knowledge with what some might call intuitive insight. So how do you personally know or balance that data with the gut instinct? Because we're not going to do that, right? But I think that how does that work for you?
Well, but you can do it because you're built for it. The more.
Wait, hold on, wait. Are you talking to all of us? You're telling us that we are built to do this?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. And I'll share why, and I'll share how. Two things. You've got a pineal gland. That's that little. Have you heard of that? The little gland that sits in the center of the brain.
No, I'm waiting for you to explain it to the people in the back, the slow people. Come on, Jaden, break it down for us.
Pineal gland, that is your direct connect to source, to a higher power.
Right.
And we all have it, and it's a part of our physiology. I could talk for days on the pineal gland, but you all need to look that up. Do some research on the pineal gland. Secondly, you have what's called brainials in your digestive tract. And, the more science advances, the more they discover how we're constructed, right? Our physical construction. So these brainials are throughout the digestive tract, and they send the information to the brain. It's like when they tell the brain, okay, I've eaten enough. I'm full, right? That's how we know. But we also know, have you ever had the time, Neil, where you just knew something to be true, like you felt it in your gut? Well, that's why, because the way we're processed to learn truth, with a capital T, the truth of all things. Like, if you meet someone and you're just like, I don't know, I got a weird feeling about that person. Yeah. Or you can sense when you walk into a room, if two people have had an argument, you feel that heavy energy in the room, right? Like yeah. We're built for this stuff. Like, we're not built to just be this, robotic person, out there in the universe. We are first spirit. We are spiritual beings having a physical body.
Physical experience. Let's go, sir. Come on. I knew we were related, Jaden. Come on.
We totally are. So, I had that first experience at 14. That was That was from, I don't know, from the universe, from my higher self, right? We all have this. Look, we would not be here for this earthly incarnation without having help from the other side in the non-physical.
Indeed, indeed.
There's no way we could get through this incarnation without that. And so I walk with one foot in the non-physical dimension and one foot in the physical. That's how I roll. That's just me. Like, that's how I show up. And some people are so offended by it, and it's incredible to me. But like, I was on a podcast yesterday, and this guy, he just blanked over when I started talking about this stuff, and I'm like thinking, dude, I'm so sorry for you that you're not open to this kind of conversation in the year 2025, you know? So, hey, we have the help. And I always jokingly say the universe thinks I'm the laziest guy on the planet because I'm always asking for help from the universe. I'm like, universe, help me with this conversation. Help me with this business idea.
And Jaden, here's what I will tell you, what I've learned in my experience.
Yeah.
Is that I am a conspiracy theorist. I believe that the universe is conspiring to help me and assist me in everything that I want to accomplish. So it is refreshing.
How's that working out?
How's that working out for me? We're doing pretty good, right? So you and I, we had the same energy when we got on this morning. I'm like, oh yeah, this is going to be a great one for the audience. But selfishly, I know I'm going to enjoy that. So I want to ask you a personal question, and I believe that this is going to be revealing and telling to the audience. But you mentioned that you've done pretty good, right? And this is just a testimony. It is not bragging or arrogance. But what does financial freedom mean to you today compared to what it did maybe 30 years ago, 25 years ago, as someone who now uses money to make a big difference and then is also determined and on a mission to help others experience that? So what does financial freedom mean to you today, Jaden?
Yeah, compared to, like, let's say 25 or 30 years ago, I think I was more self-focused on financial freedom, like, you know, climbing the corporate ladder, having it being worth $1 million. That was my big thing in my head, like, oh, I had to be worth $1 million, right? Like, but today is very different. We brought in, when we scaled our platform, we brought in 32 investors who were users of our platform, and we raised like $750,000 through that process. And my mission is to turn their $25,000 investment into $1 million. That's what it means for me today. I am on a powerful mission to grow our platform so that all those people who supported us early on, we can help create real wealth for them. So that's what it means for me today.
That is absolutely fantastic. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, go to sterlingstockpicker.com, sterlingstockpicker.com to give it a shot. And so this is something that I believe in. When people say, oh, you can try it for nothing, like we're not going to get you in and take your money first. No, give it 30 days. Figure out if it's for you or not. Go in and get the education, as Jaden and I encourage you to do. But here's what I want to ask you. You mentioned the goal for those who help support this thing and get it off the ground. What do you see for Sterling Stock Picker in the next, and this is an ambitious ask of you, okay? But what do you see in the next 3 to 5 years for the platform?
I see us trading. So either we go on a tokenized exchange. You know, we're sitting at 2,500 users of our platform. My goal is to build it to 10,000 users within that time frame, 3 to 5 years. And we've grown by 2,000 subscribers in the last 6 months. So our growth right now, you know, what do they say? It takes 8 years to be an overnight success.
Right.
Isn't that true? Like, we hit that 8-year mark and then bam, like 2,000 subscribers new to us this year has been phenomenal. If we continue at the pace we're going, we'll reach that goal in a few years. And then we either trade on a tokenized exchange, which will give all of our investors equity shares to sell, or we just go right on like the NASDAQ and become a publicly traded company. And I'm weighing both of those options very carefully. My goal, though, you know, when we did our raise, I didn't want any banks or brokerages to be a part of it. I wanted to empower the people that, you know, and that's my goal with the next step too. I don't want any venture capital. You know, some guys asked me, well, what if you get bought out? I said, I'm not for sale. We're not for sale at all. Like, I'm in it for the long term. This is a $200 million company that I'm building. And with that valuation, that would make all of our investors millionaires.
Right. That is a beautiful thing for us to hear. And especially since you know your values, right? You know your value and you know your values. And that's a very big deal. We're going to do a rapid fire round here in a moment. But before we do that, what would you say to the audience that hasn't been said already?
Oh, that has a lot.
Or do you want to reiterate? Because something that I have heard is get started and focus. Get started and focus.
Yeah.
And so even if the get started is go to sterlingstockpicker.com and then just at least look, investigate, follow Jaden on all of the platforms, and those contacts, those handles will be in our show notes. So you're going to want to make sure that you go in, do your homework, get connected with someone who's on a mission to do some big stuff. Anything additionally that you want to share, Jaden?
Yeah, it's interesting. Before our show, I was in meditation, and I always ask, what does the audience need to hear? And I got some notes for it. So can I talk about, because we didn't
absolutely.
talk about, isn't that funny that this comes up? So what I was told, or what I heard was, we all have choice in life. We have free will. That's one of the beautiful things of being on planet Earth in this incarnation, is that we have free will. We get to choose. And the key is to choose a money vehicle. Like if, we're having this conversation around money, financial freedom, because that vehicle is going to take you to where you want to go. So whether it's real estate or stocks or business or being a, entrepreneur, what have you, like choose a vehicle. And then from there, choose your wealth path, because each vehicle is going to have these options, bells and whistles, right? Do you want the sunroof? Do you want the, the folding mirrors? Like what options do you want with that vehicle? So, for example, with stocks, you've got growth companies, you've got dividend-paying companies, you've got literally options as a choice with your investments, you've got leverage with stocks. I mean, there's all kinds of things that are available to you. And then when you figure that out, when you're clear about that and focus, then you choose your road that you're driving down on with that vehicle. And it's so important. We talked about focus. It's so important. Stay on the road. You don't need to switch lanes. You don't need to exit too early. You know what I'm saying? Like, stay on that road. And that's where the difference is made.
Come on. Good stuff, man. See, once again, ladies and gentlemen, Jaden has broken it down for the simplest of us to understand. And so I absolutely appreciate that. So now it's time to have some fun. Are you ready, sir?
Let's go.
You are not legally obligated to answer any of these questions, just so that we are clear. Favorite color? Favorite food? A name or nickname that only your family calls you?
I can't think of it. Jaden Bobema, because I call my daughter Dana Bobema.
Jaden Bobema. Okay, there we go. I love it. Now, clients, if you all come across Jaden, do not call him Jaden Bobema. Call him Mr. Sterling. Make sure you call him Mr. Sterling. Batman or Superman?
Oof, Superman.
Why?
Friendlier.
Ooh, okay. I like it. Mickey Mouse or Bugs Bunny?
Jeez, neither.
Who then? If not Mickey Mouse or Bugs Bunny, who?
You mean like a cartoon character
Yep,
kind of
yes,
thing?
sir.
The Roadrunner.
Boy, you are showing your age for
I
real,
know.
Jada. Come on, man. He said, Jada said he is a man on a mission. He is moving rapidly and making
yes,
a difference and not being caught by the coyote.
That's
He said, "Hey,
right. That's right.
you can't trick me with the stunts."
That's right.
What is one talent that you don't have that you wish you did?
Musically inclined, man. I wish I could play the guitar.
Really?
Yeah, I'm no
So
musical.
have you tried?
I have. I bought a guitar, took lessons. It just went nowhere.
So hey, at 14, you knew what you were supposed to do, and the universe said, "Hey, Jaden, stay on the road. You don't need to exit early. You don't need to get off the road. You don't need to switch lanes. Stay right here." You see what I did, right? Okay. Best piece of advice you've ever received?
Go in business or marry someone that you'd want to become.
Ooh, I like that. Now, are you willing to share who
Yeah.
gave you that advice?
A very, very good friend of mine years ago. I was like 20 years old, and it was a good friend who I met through my bicycling club. And Tish Hopkins is her name, and that's what she told me. And I thought, what great advice. I have followed it to a T.
Good stuff, sir. You are an educated man or a very good liar, and I don't believe that you're a good liar. So let me ask you, what's your favorite book?
I've read a lot of books. So if I had to pick a favorite, I think Atomic Habits. That has become my favorite.
Come
Yeah.
on. That's
Yep.
some goodness there.
It is. It is. Simple, easy, like just good stuff right there.
I love it when they make the complex simple. All right, last question. What does Jaden Sterling want said about him when he's no longer on the spinning orb called Earth?
And so interesting you asked me that because I was just thinking the other day, I should write my, what's that? What is it called when you, like, not death notice, but
The
obituary?
obituary?
Yeah, I was thinking I should write the obituary. And I sat down to write it and I got too emotional because I'm like, I'm not ready to leave this planet. I couldn't do it. Geez. So therefore, it's going to be a tough, I think I want, he did his best. He lived his purpose and fulfilled his mission. That's what I'd like.
So let me ask you this. As a checkup on this morning while we're recording this podcast, how do you think you're doing on that destination, on that journey?
I think I checked all those boxes. I think this very conversation, and thank you for the ability to have it. I know I'm on purpose. I mean, I'm doing exactly what I was told at 14. Here I am 57 doing it, living it for sure.
And so, Jaden, I want to say something to you out of the bottom of my heart. You have kept your promise to your brother, and I know that he would be proud of the man you are, or the business owner, the entrepreneur, of the leader that you are. So keep working, because we do need to remind the people, that the good guys and gals, that we actually win. So thank you for that. We cannot wait to see where you are, because we're going to be following. This is not the last time you all see Jaden Sterling on Beyond the Velvet Rope. I know that you have a wealth of purpose and wisdom to share. So we're going to be looking forward to that. But here's what I want to do. I want to remind everyone to make sure that you share this episode with someone who might be on the fence, who needs to get started, who might need to focus. We're not asking you to subscribe. Just share this episode, and then go to sterlingstockpicker.com and start. Go to sterlingstockpicker.com and begin. If you'll do that, we are willing to bet that 30 days from now, you will be pleased and you'll be excited to go ahead and subscribe to the platform. Jaden, it has been an absolute pleasure, sir. My heart is full. I am a better investor today than I was an hour ago. So thank you for that. And ladies and gentlemen, we want to leave you like we always do. And that is that I love you, God loves you, and there's nothing you can do about it. And until the next time I see you or you see me, don't be average, be world renowned. Peace.